just finished talking to her. Lady Ashbury wants to talk to us again, and she's been drawing us. So there's that.
Hello again, Jonathan. To what do I owe the pleasure of your visit?
Sorry to disturb you again, but could you spare me a few minutes?
Of course, my dear. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Do you know if the epidemic has affected many people in the West End?
I confess I've been more concerned by events in the East End. The wealthy have more efficient ways of dealing with infection.
But this is no common epidemic.
That is true. I must tell my daughter to stay at home for a few days. But the girl is stubborn and fiercely independent. Much like her mother.
Concerning your investigation...
Yes?
Are you truly seeking to identify my maker?
I cannot promise you anything, but yes. I am conducting some research of my own.
Do you think we shall ever see better days? Or at least, better nights?
I know not, Jonathan. I have seen some horrid days in my long lifetime. Experience has taught me that one cannot outrun the fates.
Will you tell me your story one day, Lady Ashbury?
One of them, perhaps. I have had so many lives, Jonathan. Eternity may not be enough to relate them all.
When all of this is over, the war and the epidemic, we could leave the city for a while. Travel around Europe, you and I.
Traveling is always so complicated for us poor creatures of the night. But yes, I would be glad to travel the world with you, my dear.
Goodbye, Elizabeth.
That wasn't as much information as I was hoping for. I did find a letter here and looted her house, of course. There was also a diary, seemed to be about her daughter, apparently. She has two, maybe. And they wanted to be turned into vampires. But she wouldn't do it. Lady Ashbury has morals. Or something. Now we get to go look for the Ascalon Club. Who knows what's going on there, but it should be pretty interesting. Creepy old vampires, secret club. Sounds like a good time. They call themselves the Shadow Cabinet. What's not to love? Ugh. Hit in the face with a loading screen, of course. Quarantine signs.
I cannot enter.
Okay, I'm supposed to have a pass to let me through here. I have to go all the way around. Well, I'll just hit back and beat you guys up.
He's dead!
Otherwise, he's gonna turn around and try to kill me. These loading screens are like bricks to the face. like in a slow walk.
It's locked, or that was the vampire I saw earlier. This war takes no prisoners.
I'm so directionally challenged. It's not even funny. Okay, here we go.
The West End. Never have I felt so sad to be back home.
Let's see, going this way.
Burn it, boys!
Oh!
Filthy fucking beast!
Abilities are so slow sometimes.
The Ascalon Club. The heart of British vampire society. Not quite as subtle as I expected.
Women's right to vote is only the first step.
Good evening, miss.
Oh my god, no. Please, Mr. Vampire, don't kill me. Please, no. I'm too young to die. I still have so much to offer this world.
Wait, no. Why do you think I would... What?
Don't worry, Dr. Reed. I know you wouldn't harm me. Mother told me you were in this part of town and might drop by.
Your mother?
My name is Charlotte, sir. Charlotte Ashbury. My mother taught me long ago how to recognize the signs that betray a vampire.
I understand she also taught you how to tease and gently mock innocent young Ekons. It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Charlotte.
Well, this is the lady who wrote the diary.
Tell me about your adoption.
What do you want to know?
Who are your real parents?
Elizabeth Ashbury is my real mother. She raised me and has taken care of me all my life. I have no idea who my progenitors are or were.
Do you live with her?
I still spend a lot of time in my mother's mansion, but I have my own house now. I have a life to live, you see. And one day, I'll have my death to face.
How did you meet Lady Ashbury?
First, I was an orphan in the institution for girls she manages in the West End. When I was 10, she adopted me, and I have lived with her ever since.
Did you know she was a vampire when she picked you?
The correct word is Ekon, Doctor. And no, I had no idea why my mother only showed up at night. She told me everything when I turned 16, though I suspected the truth for a long time before that.
What exactly has your mother told you about me?
Your name and profession, obviously, and the mystery about your maker. I'm sorry to hear about what happened to your sister, sir. Mother says it was not your fault.
Does it not scare you to know what I am? What your mother is?
Why should it? My mother is the most compassionate woman. Must I be wary of her, Dr. Reed? Or you?
Maybe.
Perhaps it's wise for a mortal never to totally trust a vampire. Your mother herself told me that we Ekon are creatures of deception. Maybe it's because we seem so... alive.
That may be true for a naive girl, But I have the best teacher when it comes to getting rid of an insistent immortal.
Your mother is not like any other vampire I've met.
I believe she thinks the same about you, Dr. Reed.
What do you think about this part of town?
I was raised here, and I suppose it feels like home. You grew up in this part of town too, did you not?
Yes, I was born a few streets away.
A small world, is it not? Did you ever imagine that my mother was your neighbor all that time? That you could have met her in a dark alley at night?
You won't trick me twice, young lady. We both know Lady Ashbury never hunts or attacks prey at random.
Come on, Doctor. Don't tell me you never thought about that possibility. Her fangs on your neck. Oh, are you blushing, Dr. Reed?
Wow.
Is there something that's bothering you?
Too much selfishness and individualism for my taste. Even when there was no epidemic.
Even if that's partly true, may I remind you that many charitable institutions are financed by the selfish and filthy rich.
I suppose you're right. But society must reform and renew itself, or we are all done for.
What are you doing out here?
You mean, what do I do outside at night, since I am a woman? Let me ask you a question, sir. Would you ask the same question of a man?
Actually, yes. I ask the same question to everyone who dares to go outside at night, considering the risks.
That is
Well,
true.
if you must know, I campaign for the right to vote for all women. Why should I wait to the age of 30 years when men can vote at 21?
Are you a suffragette, then? Oh, you really are Elizabeth's girl. Without a doubt.
All adult women have the right to vote in the US, in New Zealand, and in Australia. But women here can't vote unless they are property owners.
No need to convince me, Miss Charlotte. I have shared your opinion for a long time. Even before I met Emmeline Pankhurst.
Really? Oh. Now I see why my mother appreciates you so much. Too bad there aren't more men like you in the vicinity.
How are the locals reacting to your claims?
People here can't wait for a wall to be built to isolate the West End from the rest of town. That's how progressive they are. If this happens, Emily and I will blow it up.
Explosives are very dangerous, young lady. And who is this Emily?
She is my best friend, and a suffragette too. She was supposed to campaign with me tonight, but hasn't turned up.
Have you any reason to be worried about her?
Recently, Emily started to believe in... well, she got interested in vampires. I'm afraid she might be in trouble.
Let me guess. You spoke to her about us, didn't you? Despite your mother's warning. I think I should try to find your friend.
Oh, that would be top-notch. I can tell you where she might have gone. You have my thanks, Dr. Reed. And please, don't tell my mother.
Why do you still hope to become a vampire, in spite of your mother's refusal?
It's the immortal aspect of vampires that interests me. The world won't improve unless women take charge. I'm convinced of that.
You're obviously a clever woman with a good education and a brilliant future. But have you thought about the price you'd have to pay? The loneliness, the necessary masquerade.
Is it not true of every high position? To change this world and make it a better place, one needs time on one's side.
Tell me, Charlotte, how do you plan to achieve eternal life? Since you've obviously given it a lot of thought.
I won't give up. You have no idea how determined I am, sir. I may contract a deadly disease. I may throw myself under a carriage, just to be saved by her sweet kiss.
That's
my
a
gosh.
disturbing answer, young lady. And the worst part of it is, I know you speak the truth.
There are less dangerous ways, Doctor. Instead of throwing myself under a horse like Emily Davison, I could just throw myself into your arms.
Be careful what you wish for, young lady. I could gaze at you right now and then take you to a shady corner and have my way with you. And leave your carcass to the rats.
You wouldn't dare. My mother would know. she'd never forgive you.
How could she suspect me? Do you know how many vampires are lurking in the city tonight as we speak? Vampires with a worse sense of humor than mine.
Oh, my God. For one second, I thought you actually... Excellent, Dr. Reed. Very convincing.
Yeah, I was getting kind of dark there.
Your mother has refused to turn you into a vampire. Tell me more about it.
Each time we argue, Mother expresses the same fear. She wants me to remain alive and full of joy, rather than become melancholy and immortal. She claims you can't have one without the other. It's pure selfishness.
Your mother has walked this earth for much longer than you or I. She is wise, and we should not ignore her advice when we disagree with it.
But why shouldn't I be allowed to forge my own experience? There can't be only one righteous way to deal with eternity.
It's your mother's choice. As daughters and sons, we have to accept the decisions our parents make for us despite our own wishes.
I love my mother, and have accepted everything from her. Even that she named me Charlotte, when it was not my original name.
Does it bother you?
No. Whoever I was when I was born, I am now Charlotte Ashbury. It hurts as much as it makes me proud to know that's the name my mother will read on my tombstone.
Do you know why Lady Ashbury chose you to become her daughter?
No, I don't. Each time I ask her that question, she smiles and says it's precisely because I dare to ask such questions.
Do you ever regret that she chose you?
Of course not. Though I often wonder if she adopted others before me.
Probably.
If so, where are they buried? How is it for them to pass through life with a never-aging mother?
Pretty weird, I guess.
Goodbye, Charlotte.
She's been quite busy these last few nights. I suspect you may see her before me.
I understand exactly what that poet meant the other night.
Good evening, sir. Please forgive me for disturbing you. I'm a doctor.
I never judge a man by his title, but by his attitude. And you are not disturbing me at all. I am Calhoun Russell, and I welcome you.
Well, I must admit it's good to receive a warm welcome for once. I'm Jonathan Reed.
Welcome, Dr. Reed. Welcome to my humble shop.
How is the situation in this part of town?
Life is good and peaceful. We're lucky to live in such an era of progress and wonders.
Are you not concerned about the epidemic?
Oh, I'm sure the authorities would take the appropriate measure if the danger were that high.
You cannot expect the newspapers to expose the truth while the war is still raging. I can assure you that the situation here is desperate.
Well, that's news then. But I can't believe that things are that bad. Are you sure you're not exaggerating a bit? For the thrill of it?
Is it not a little too late to be trading?
On the contrary, it is the perfect hour. Believe me, my friend, it is always at night that you meet the most fascinating characters.
So you prefer to work at night?
Oh, I also enjoy a sunny day like everybody else. But the night always has a certain je ne sais quoi of its own.
But what about the epidemic? The bombs and raids? And all the random violence?
Please, sir, this is London, England. We will prevail. And if a bomb must fall on my shop, then I'll be there to hear it falling.
What can you tell me about this place?
I recently found the best steak and kidney pie in the city. I'd be glad to share the address if you want.
Finding a good restaurant? Is that really all that interests you?
Oh, I have many passions, but nothing brings me ecstasy like subtle and exquisite flavors from my teeth to my belly.
I must confess, I have quite specific tastes when it comes to nutrition.
Really? Well, I'm always happy to try new exotic meals. If you ever find an intriguing table, please share the address.
The back alley. Random
Do you have
hobo?
any family nearby?
Not since my parents died. I'm London's lone gourmet.
London's Lone Gourmet. What a strange title.
I used that name in my early years when I was a food critic, and I kept it.
Really? But you seem to be such a pleasant and sociable fellow.
I'm afraid the real hedonist has to be sometimes. I discovered ecstasy as a solitary pleasure, but it does not mean it can't ever be shared.
I may have a look at your goods, Mr. Russell.
So expensive.
Remember, don't let any strangers come into your house.
Good evening, sir. May I have your attention, please?
Come on, Johnny. Don't you recognize your oldest friend?
Clarence. Clarence Crossley. How are you? My God. So you survived the war too. So sorry I didn't recognize you at first.
I almost didn't recognize you either. War does that to men, I heard. In my case, it was true, for I witnessed the horror that lies underneath.
When did you escape the war and return to London?
You know what's funny? I almost never think about the war. Not anymore. I'm involved in another kind of battle now.
What is this new battle?
I saw terrible things during the war. Horrors I thought I'd forget. They're here too. They're everywhere. Vampires.
I know what you mean. I haven't had much time to think about the war either since my return.
Of course. With the epidemic, I bet you've been busy as well. Forgive me, Johnny. I didn't want to sound selfish.
How is your wife, Venus?
We've spent so much time away from each other. And so many things have happened.
Is everything all right at home? Surely Venus was relieved to see you return from France in one piece.
Have you forgot what people are like in this part of town, Johnny? Venus fears for our family reputation. Now her husband has become the village idiot.
But you're alive.
Idiot, huh?
You returned in one piece and you have a family. How many soldiers can say the same?
Believe me, it's not quite that simple. Unlike you, I'm not the man I used to be.
Do you need medical assistance, Clarence?
It's a little late for visiting hours, don't you think?
What can I say? I haven't lost my old habits.
I hope we're talking about the same habits, old friend.
You need some rest.
Looks just like Lady Ashbury's house. Alright, here we go to the Ascalon Club. Gonna see who's in here, what they're up to. Disrupt all their plans, or do their bidding, or whatever. Probably do their bidding.
Do you know where you are standing right now?
In front of the Ascalon Club, I presume.
The Ascalon Club only summons or ostracizes. What is your business tonight?
I received an invitation. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Welcome to the Ascalon Club, then, Dr. Reed. Please proceed. Lord Redgrave is waiting on you upstairs. Welcome to the Ascalon.
Just a dead guy right in the hallway here. Immediately upon coming
There has been
inside.
quite a battle here.
Many dead guys.
I'm sure the Ascalon Club has the money to replace the furniture.
And to replace all the stuff I'm going to take out of their drawers. Oh, really? What the heck? Doors like this are a trap. Did I really just go outside? I'm gonna have to come back in here and sit through this again. I can't wait for the new consoles. Hopefully this will be a problem of the far past. Yeah, I came out the back door. That's just great. Back inside, because there's not even anything out here to reward me. Just an empty courtyard and back onto the streets. There should be some kind of warning. Like, hey, you're going outside. You're gonna have to sit here for the next 5 minutes. Are you sure you want to go outside? Are you sure you want to walk into the morgue? If you're a about to change areas. Are you certain? I'd rather click that button 1,000 times than sit through these loading screens.
It's locked.
So much money just laying around in this place. Ooh, a basement key.
Good evening. We repel
My good friends, if I may have your attention. Behold our visitor, the good Dr. Reed. Newborn of blood so pure and strong that even my friend Fergal Bansher was no match for him.
Here, here, here!
Come forward, young Ekon, for we have so much to discuss. Welcome to the Ascalon Club, Dr. Reed. I am Lord Redgrave, Earl of Bristol and chairman of this exclusive association.
Lord Redgrave.
At last we meet. I've been eager to make your acquaintance. I've heard some astounding things about you. Please accept my condolences for your loss, Dr. Reed.
Thank you, my lord. Lady Ashbury expressed your wish to meet me.
Yes. The lady has always been a useful acquaintance, though not always reliable. Is she a good friend of yours?
Yes, she is. I may even say I admire her probity and her kindness. She has helped me since I was reborn.
The centuries have taught me never to trust a woman completely, especially if she is a mortal. Too prone to emotions, if you ask me. Too fickle when it comes to important decisions.
My lord, do not expect me to speak ill of Lady Ashbury.
Of course not, and I praise your loyalty. Would you offer the same fidelity to the Empire?
What do you mean?
I speak of the Skull Plague that threatens London and the country. You have been on the front line in the East End, but the time has come to open up a second front here.
The epidemic has escaped the quarantine. You have new cases of the outbreak.
We don't know for certain, but we cannot allow the disease to threaten the prominent heads of Great Britain.
Why do you suddenly need me?
The Ascalon Club only recruits the best, and you definitely fit the bill. Your scientific and medical reputation alone would qualify you as a candidate.
You want me to find possible sources of the outbreak in the West End. Is that it?
Ah, straight to the point, like all eager newborns. We shall have time to talk about all this, Dr. Reed, but first, I should like to get to know you better.
Talk? Is that the only reason you asked me here?
Well, no. I also wanted to meet the intriguing Ekon, made such a powerful progeny of his sister. You have not learned the name of your maker, am I correct?
No, I haven't.
Have no embarrassment, Dr. Reed. We all make mistakes. But whatever your lineage, you are definitely Ascalon material.
What do you mean?
I would like you to become a member of the Ascalon Club, and to serve me as such.
Before I accept, I have so many questions.
Please ask.
What is the Ascalon Club's express purpose?
We follow the credo of William Marshall, the greatest knight who ever lived. As was he, we are sworn to protect the British Empire.
What does Ascalon mean?
Ascalon was the lance wielded by St. George, glorious patron saint of England when he slew the dragon. And like that lance, we pierce the hearts of all our nation's enemies.
William Marshall founded the Ascalon Club.
Not exactly. William Marshall granted me immortality, and I founded the club a few years later. The good knight has been gone for so long.
What does it mean to be a member of the Ascalon Club?
It means that you swear to protect the interests of the crown, that you become a loyal servant of the British Empire.
Do you have any official recognition from the government? A charter from His Majesty the King?
No. Of course, the Ascalon Club publicly supports the Empire, but the true nature of its members remains a secret.
Am I supposed to follow orders?
As founder and chairman of the club, I alone am entitled to make demands of our members, and I do appreciate obedience.
I killed Fergal, who claimed to be one of yours, sent to cleanse the East End of all Skulls. Will his death be an issue?
Do not worry. My priorities have changed. Fergal was a zealous servant of mine, but like any servant, he had his limitations and is readily replaced if necessary.
I agree to join the club.
This is good news. Good news indeed in these crucial times.
Not that I had any
Let's inform
choice.
the Assembly formally and proceed with your initiation.
My initiation?
Fear not. Nothing fancy nor dangerous. It is just that we, the members of Ascalon, believe that tradition and custom are the backbone of this country. My fellow members, dear friends, please gather and welcome this Ekon as one of our own.
Is he worthy? Is his blood pure?
Well, speak, Dr. Reed, in front of the most sacred blood. The blood of our beloved William Marshall, speak now. Will you serve and protect the crown as he did?
Yes, I will.
Then, young Ekon, it is time to testify with your blood. It is time to sign the Book of Allegiance. I know it's awfully gothic and a tad pedantic, but England's traditions are the backbone of our nation. Delightful. Welcome to the Ascalon Club, Dr. Reed. Take your place among the bearers of the lance.
One of us! One of us!
I personally went patrolling last night in the West End, and I spotted at least 2 foreign Ekons. This
is an outrage. We shall chase these intruders down.
I was chased by a gigantic falcon 2 nights ago. I thought it was Fergal coming back, but no. That creature barely spoke English.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. How does it feel to be this evening's centerpiece? Figuratively.
It's quite unsettling. As a doctor, I am more used to being the observer than the subject observed.
Do not be alarmed. The Ascalon Club has a tried and tested policy for choosing its initiates.
May I ask who you are, sir?
Why would you be interested?
Well, as you seem to be the only man in the room with a beating heart, you draw quite a bit of attention yourself.
Ah, vampire senses never cease to fascinate me. They dwarf those of mere mortals. I am Aloysius Dawson, by the way.
I know that name.
Are you a member of the club?
Yes, I am. And I have been for many years. And will be until the day I die.
Are you sick?
Personally, I consider my advancing years are a sickness in itself. My body is slowly abandoning me, Dr. Reed.
What can you tell me about it?
It's not really my place to give you such information. I am merely a mortal member, and a dying one at that.
Are you not afraid? You are surrounded by vampires.
Sir, it's for that very reason that I joined the club in the first place.
So you asked for membership?
I have been a member of many clubs in many countries. But I must admit, this one is my favorite.
Is not the nature of this club a secret shared by only a privileged few?
My dear Dr. Reed, I have spent years and a fortune precisely to gather that kind of information.
What can you tell me about Lord Redgrave?
I would not dare speak of our chairman without his consent.
Mr. Dawson, of Dawson and Dawson, the wealthiest man in England. It is a pleasure to meet such a prominent figure of London.
A withering London figurehead, to be precise.
Are you sick, Mr. Dawson? I am a doctor, you know.
My case is beyond the scope of traditional medicine. I have spent fortunes on the world's most competent doctors to arrive at that diagnostic conclusion.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir. Should I suppose that you're here in search of some form of immortality?
Absolutely not. I'm here to implement my plan to save the city I was born in. To cast out the ghastly evil that has us all on our knees.
That's surprising.
What do you know about the Guard of Prewin?
I should not say this, but I admire their commitment. This is what the nation needs right now.
Would you help them?
No. There is a time for such methods. But brute force will not be enough to fight this plague. We have to think differently.
But they are our enemies.
They are not mine, Dr. Reed.
What is the situation like in this part of town?
I am sure Lord Redgrave will enlighten you more effectively than I.
Money cannot solve every problem. This mysterious epidemic is going to require more than money can buy.
You're right. Money is nothing unless one has the will to wield it. I have a plan, sir. A radical one that will save all that is essential in London.
What is your plan, then?
Quarantine and barricades are futile. What we need is a wall. A formidable, unscalable wall to isolate the deserving from the infected masses.
Okay, Trump.
But that would segregate the rich from the poor, would it not? It would be unjust.
Our only course of action must be to save England. And to save England, we have to make sacrifices.
Are you not mistaking sacrifice for summary execution?
Why do you care? Are you not a vampire? Removed from all mortal concerns? Decisiveness is what the city needs, and it needs it now.
That went well, did it not? It is always useful to bolster the troops' morale, especially before a difficult battle.
You have the makings of a general, my lord.
I was, though very long ago. Well, not quite a general, but a proud defender of the crown.
So why did you really want to meet me?
Straight to the point again, young Ekon. All right, let's talk, you and I, Lance Sparrow.
I'm listening, my lord.
According to my spies, you have worked with Dr. Edgar Swansea on the epidemic, and your findings were quite alarming.
Do you know Edgar Swansea?
Not personally, but I've been told he has some sort of immortal fetish and is a good friend of yours.
Does it bother you that I consider him my good friend?
As long as you reveal nothing of the club's inner workings, why should I forbid you engaging in conversation with the good Dr. Swansea?
You were spying on me?
Not personally. I rarely leave this building. But once he found you, Fergal kept me informed. Until you put an end to his mission.
Who was Fergal? I don't see him sipping tea with the others in the club.
Fergal Banshire was my squire of sorts. Even before becoming that magnificent beast, he was a brute. He served me well for decades.
No, I mean, what was he? He was clearly no ordinary vampire.
No. He was a Volcod. All muscles and instinct. Quite the rare breed. Ferociously territorial. Mortals often mistake them for werewolves.
You do know I killed him?
Yes.
Will you bear ill will towards me for his death?
Of course not. Your victory was quite impressive and courageous. You earned my respect.
Yes, I'm convinced the recent invasion of frenzied Scals in London is directly linked to the epidemic. This is not the Spanish flu, but something else.
I would be glad to hear more of your discoveries, Dr. Reed, but for now, my main concern is the security of London's inhabitants, both mortal and immortal.
What do you mean?
Alarmed by the epidemic, the Guard of Prewen has started a war against us British vampires. To appease the situation, we must eradicate the Scals.
I have met peaceful and wise Scals. To exterminate them means we are no better than vampire hunters.
Scals are hideous, shameful creatures that give all Ekon a bad name.
So, what do you want me to do?
I want you to investigate the city thoroughly. I have reason to fear there are cases of contagion in this part of town. Our absolute priority is to find and cleanse them.
And how would you like me to proceed?
By all means necessary, Dr. Reed. You are now a member of the Ascalon Club, and you have carte blanche. Interrogate the locals, follow all the leads you find, and get results.
Hey, more mesmerization.
Welcome to the Ascalon Club, then, Dr. Reed.
Okay, I think that's gonna wrap up today. It's a good stopping point now that we know who the Ascalon Club is, and now that we've joined it. We will explore the West End next time.